So what would you be saying to people at the moment who are going through absolute pain in relationships or their career or whatever area it is,
Okay.
and it's really like dark night of the soul stuff? What would you be saying to them?
I'd be saying to have a good look at the things that are triggering you, because they're just, some people would say they're issues deep within yourself that you've disowned or you don't recognise. And so we find them mirrored to us in our partners and the people around us and life situations. Mm-hmm. And sometimes when you can look at everyone around you as being a teacher, then you start to realise we're all brothers and sisters and we're all learning from each other, and we're basically all on the same journey, maybe at different times, but we're all heading to the same place to get some sort of high level of awareness. Now, if you stay in the lower mind and you start to see people, you start to live with fear-based reaction rather than interact with life, you react to it, then you're going to have some pain. And if that's the choice you want to make, and that's the road you want to go down, well, that's where you'll end up.
Okay. Is this affecting, obviously it's affecting men as well as women, but are men having a more challenging time with this because stuff that they may have been holding down is really just... What's happening for men?
I think...
Because I'm hearing a lot of that happening out there.
Absolutely. Yeah. I think that it's happening to all of us.
Yeah.
But, in astrology, men is represented more by the sun, women more by the moon. Mm-hmm. Women are more yin and men are more yang. That's, of course, the duality of life. Venus and Mars. Venus, the planet of love, and Mars was the ancient god of war, the yang principle. But I think a lot of men are a little bit out of touch with their feminine side. They're more ego-based, more competitive, more in the mind, where a lot of women seem to feel a bit more and use their intuition and their feelings a bit more. And I think that's why some men are having a little bit of a harder time, because they're not in touch with the deep part of them. The mind screams and the heart whispers. And sometimes men...
Say that again?
The mind screams and the heart whispers. Now, if you can listen to the little voices inside you, there's your guidance, there's your spiritual guidance. Because after all, we're all basically old souls, and we've got a lot of intuition, a lot of inner guidance. Some people can speak about spirit and God, or whatever form you want to call it, whether it's up there or it's inside you, but there's definitely a message you feel in your heart, what's right and what's wrong. Now, whether we listen to those little messages, there's our guidance.
So tell me, before you kind of moved into astrology and all the rest of it, what was your belief system? Did you have one? Did you believe there was a higher power? Or?
Look, I believed in God always, I still do, but I was trained, I went out of university, I did a law degree at university, an arts degree, and I was trained to go into business, and the setup was money talks and bullshit walks. Am I allowed to say that, Frank? Sorry.
You want to do it one more time?
Well, it was just about trying to be successful in the business world and have financial independence. And we're trained basically to compete and to have fear in a way not to. Well, I was anyway, and a lot of men are. Let's face it, look, when a baby is born, a baby is fearless. A baby will grab a funnel-web spider and put it in its mouth. It will go up and pat a wild animal. But sooner or later we get trained, whether it be through our family, our upbringing, our boyfriends, girlfriends, and life experience, we get trained to have an element of fear. And then you get to a point where you start to believe, sometimes you start to believe that the world can be a dangerous place. And we're basically then in a fear pattern and on guard. And part of the business world and the competition is a bit like that. Now, I'm not trying to knock business, because, gee, I honour totally the experience I've had, and it's helped me to see both sides of the fence. But my journey now really, and astrology is one of the tools I use, and one of the reasons I created the Healing Centre was just to bring the heart energy back in. And I think it's important that we all start to realise with what's happening in the world that we need to start getting together and realise we're all the same, and ditch all this separation.
Well, speaking of separation then, do you think sometimes people give up too quickly on relationships when there's this...
Totally, because you see, with relationships, a lot of people are just being mirrored. You can be, for instance, you can have I'm not married, but let's say, for instance, if I was married and I've had a fight with my wife, well, often my wife will be mirroring an emotion in me that I haven't really owned or really understood. And it's the universe just showing you, right to your face, what you need to integrate with. Now, it's not easy to do that, because you have to sort of drop the ego and you have to start to realise, well, yeah, maybe there's an element of that in me. And this person actually is one of my teachers. I mean, I had a fairly harsh upbringing, but I totally honour my parents because they were great teachers.
Why?
They taught me how not to be.
Can you share a little bit that's not too personal? Or?
I was look. Unfortunately, I sort of grew up in a little bit of an abusive, not a little bit of quite major abusive upbringing in family and childhood, and so I was indoctrinated and I was trained to compete and be successful and be fearful and even possibly be passive aggressive and even obsessive at some point. And I've become brought to my knees and tamed since then. But they were great teachers. And I think your point of having relationships where people are giving up, if you give up, you'll just end up attracting the same situation in your life at another point, and it'll do it again, and you'll just keep coming back. And if you haven't learned in this lifetime, you'll probably come back the next lifetime and you'll have another go. And sooner or later, you've got to realise this, and we've got to just transcend all this stuff and start to bring a little bit of unity and a little bit of love and peace back into our every moment. Because after all, it's the only thing that's real. I mean, if you read all the Eckhart Tolle and all the books, The Power of Now, the only real moment is the real thing is this right moment.
Yep.
If you use the pain of yesterday and the projection of fear onto tomorrow, you miss out on the only thing that's real.
Yep.
And at this particular moment, all of us here, we're all here having a great time. That's the reality of your life. No one's here probably got any ultimately really pain or any major problems at this very moment. But we bring the fear in from yesterday, we project it on to tomorrow, and we ended up in a cycle, a pattern that we find it hard to get out of.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Paul, thank you so very much. Please thank
Robyn.
Paul.
Thank
He
you.
is